Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Success is a Choice podcast here on the Success is a Choice podcasting network. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler, and we have a very special guest today. Normally, we just have very special guests, but today, extra varies because this is Brian Saviano, and Brian goes by Bricks O'Brien. And why that's important is because he is the person that started my son on gaming. My son would watch YouTube and he would watch all these videos about Bricks O'Brien and he would just be laughing hysterically. So Bricks O'Brien on the show today. And the reason I have him on the show is because I know a lot of you out there are educators, are coaches, are athletic administrators, are leaders, but you all either have kids or you know kids. And everyone likes to game nowadays. Everyone likes to play video games. And so Brian is the author of the Pro Gamer's Guide to Healthy Habits. He's a professional gamer. He's on YouTube. He's on all these platforms. He is the man. So Brian, Bricks O'Brien, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I would like you to introduce me like that anytime I walk into any room from now on. That is a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it, Jamie.
With trumpets, I could play some trumpets,
yes,
or play some music. What would be the song? What is your song that you would be introed to? You know, like baseball players go up to the plate, or, you know, if you're going on stage at a conference or you would be introed like that, what would be your song?
Well, it's funny you say that because I do have a Bricks O'Brien theme that I had commissioned many years ago. So there is an anthem already made as part of the brand that I've created. So I'm trying to think of every single little thing, including the theme song. So when I do more keynotes, it'll be the Bricks O'Brien theme song.
Yeah, you know, I've never been introduced with a theme song. I've thought about doing that. You know, Jump Around, House of Pain, or Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue, or something like that gets you going. One of those kind of songs, but I've just never done that before. Maybe I should look at doing that.
It gives you a different level of confidence, and I highly recommend it. And part of what I do is I love working with all different types of creatives to help what I'm doing, and music is always something I knew I have a strong passion for, and I can't write music right now, so why don't I work with a composer who works with games and movies? And that's exactly how it happened a couple years ago. So I use it in the intro to my videos or the outro to a live event I'm doing, and it helps people kind of reaffirm my presence and who I am, and it just adds a different vibe rather than using something that somebody else has done. So I recommend it for you. I am in full support.
Well, I appreciate that. And like a lot of our audience, we don't know probably a lot about gaming, you know, and we may be familiar, especially the coaches on this call or on watching this show might be familiar with esports, but there's a lot of games. There's a lot of video games. And I grew up being jealous of the kids that got to play Atari, because I remember in our attic, there was a brand new Atari in a box that my parents would not let us play because they thought video games were essentially of the devil. And so, you know, we had to go out and play outside and get exercise and all that kind of junk. We never got to play games. So walk us through all those people that maybe grew up on Atari or really don't know about this gaming stuff. Talk to us about the gaming world nowadays.
So it's 10,000, 100,000% different than when you were growing up. And for me personally, I got into gaming when I was younger because I grew up as an only child, you know, single mom raising me. and I didn't have many people to play with outside because I lived like in an inner city sort of situation. So playing until 9 o'clock at night was not necessarily the safest thing to do, but staying inside and playing video games definitely was. So gaming has evolved from just being a thing that you do as a hobby to not even being a thing that you can also make money with by live streaming or producing video content or shorts or whatever. But it's also an outlet for kids who were maybe in my life situation, not ideal situations, to get lost into a world that is much more positive and happy than the one that they're enduring. And I think that is the main focus for me, whether you like gaming or not. It is of the same mindset media as movies and television shows or music, that you can go into a world that is not of what you see around you and get lost in that. And that has been such an important thing for me growing up and wanting to create the physical world around me to be better situations. But then, okay, now that I've gotten all this experience from playing these games, taking in this creative energy, and then now being in a position where I can share that with the world. Okay, well, how do I do that with the business mindset of distributing my content and making myself better and connections and all that stuff, accompanied with the power that gaming has for a younger generation, and finding that middle ground. That's what I've been doing for the past 15 years. And I've been doing this full time for 5 years as Bricks O'Brien, doing stuff for other companies all along the way and other projects. But that's where it all started for me. And that's the impact it has for today's young people.
Well, I think I'm a new kind of sports parent, and I think I'm the new esports parent, because it's going to be, no, Jaylen, you got to get your practice in. You can't go outside and play with your friends until you get your practice in. So get back down in that basement, get those 3 hours of Fortnite practice in, because how are you going to be a pro gamer? Get back down in the basement. You can't go outside and play.
It's such a weird thing to say. And like, part of that is true, but, and we'll probably touch on this in a little bit regarding like the book, that it's not just about practicing for hours on end, because, staying in your mom's basement is not going to get you anywhere in life socially and whatnot anyway. So it's about finding the balance between all of it while doing the work that you need to do.
Yeah. And we mentioned gaming is a huge deal now. And there's probably plenty of 40-year-olds out there that are cursing their parents now for not letting them play video games, because they could have made a lot of money with the money that's out there. But just, you talked about the social aspect of it. And I have a 12-year-old son, Jaylen, and he gets online and he plays these video games, and they have chat, and it can be very social. It can be good and it can be bad. The same way he can watch YouTube, and some of those YouTube videos with the cartoons and the gaming, it can be not what you want your kid to consume. But then there's stuff like your stuff, Bricks O'Brien stuff, that is family friendly. So talk about you being a family friendly creator of video games, and why people should be watching Bricks O'Brien.
So to me, when these game companies are making games like Super Mario, Pokemon, Minecraft, clearly aimed in a more creative direction, meant for all ages, not kids, all ages, which to me is an important emphasis, because you don't need to be a kid to enjoy what you're capable of doing in these games. Like, if you're getting enjoyment out of it, I have no shame in being like, hey, I enjoy this thing and I want to share it with other people. So let me just get that into the world too. But to me, it doesn't make sense when you have these vibrant characters and worlds for me to be cussing alongside that, especially when the marketing from Nintendo or Microsoft is in a lot of cases toward kids. So why am I going to drop an F-bomb while playing Mario? Doesn't make sense. That's not what Nintendo would want for their content. And even from a professional standpoint, if I want to get in good with these companies, there's a dime a dozen content creators out there that cater to that teenage or young adult audience. And I have no interest in pandering to that audience when I could get the seal of approval from the parents or the grandparents and then make it a family event. Like when I've met kids at a convention, it's literally the brother, the sister, the parents, and the grandparents who are all excited to see me, because my voice is in their household. And because of the way that I address my audience when I'm speaking, I'm not doing crazy voices and screaming my head off. They're able to have it on in the background and it doesn't get too obnoxious. So, okay, we'll let Brian be on for a little while. And then as they're watching more, okay, they get more invested in the random life stories I tell about the mice infesting my office, or I got the wrong coffee, or something like that. And it forms a more personal connection with the audience. And it all just kind of symbiotically works within itself. And that's where I've really seen people gravitate with my content. And the kids especially retain it, like the random stories I'll tell and bring it up to their parents. Like, how do you know these 90s music songs that were not played on the radio? Oh, Brian said it in his video. He sung it during Pokemon. What are you talking about? Like, and that's where the parents get a kick out of it too. So it all plays into itself.
Yeah, I've heard that because a lot of times it'll be on in the background and I can listen to that. I can hear what Jaylen's listening to. And it's funny. Jaylen will be laughing hysterically, but I also think about, man, this Brian dude, he's an old soul. Like he's got some references in there that I wouldn't think that he would have.
Yeah. And that's because my grandparents, my mom really, focusing on, not just playing, the top 40 or the whatever, but I really value taking in all different viewpoints in life, whether you are top executive CEO or, you're somebody I meet in Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. Like I love being able to meet all these different kinds of people, and that gives me a better worldview. That makes me a better person and more informed person. And if I can share that, especially with a younger generation who may not have that perspective or may be sucked into social media, which can be an echo chamber that you don't want to get stuck in, those little references can maybe break that mold. And then, okay, let me go listen to this album from 1990, and then what was going on during that time period, and a bit of a rabbit hole that way. So that's kind of where that stems from.
Absolutely. Now I've seen some of your live streams where you're playing sports. You're playing maybe Switch sports, or I've seen you doing soccer and bowling. Did you grow up playing sports at all, or you pretty much just been a gamer your whole life?
So when I was younger, my mother signed me up for soccer when I was in, I think, elementary school. And it wasn't that I was against ever playing sports, but for whatever reason, I didn't understand soccer so much that the only move I would resort to is kicking the ball out of bounds, because I didn't know how the game worked otherwise. So I kept kicking the ball out of bounds. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm a big guy. I should be the goalie. You're not qualified to be the goalie. All right, well, I quit. So then it would move into the next thing and learning how to swim and little things like that. And I would do those things, but video games are really cool, man. Like having whatever world is on the screen and you get to share that now with your friends. Like, for as much as I advocate for people to go outside and get exercise and participate in sports and whatnot, the undeniable gravitation of whatever is happening on your screen, whether it's a video game or movie or social media, like there's something there that hooks you right in. And that happened to me from a young age, just because of life circumstances as well. And that if it happens while they're young, then it just translates into maybe something like what I'm doing here today.
Well, for a lot of us old dudes or boomers or people that grew up in a different generation, it might be difficult for us to understand how a 12-year-old or an 8-year-old can just sit there in front of a TV and watch somebody else play video games.
Well,
they're
so
not even playing the video games.
But,
so yeah, tell us, sell us on just not even playing the video game, but watching, how you've become so popular, why people like watching you.
So I'll ask you a question in return. So, what Sunday football, right? You're watching the Patriots, or maybe not the Patriots, but whoever. Well, why don't you go pick up a ball?
You're from New England.
I am from New England. So. Yeah, I am. Whether I know you're getting all the comments like, oh, boo, Belichick now. I can already hear him. But why don't you pick up a football and go play outside with the guys?
Yeah,
why don't you go out there?
Absolutely. I like to watch football, but I'm not going to play football right there.
It's the same thing with young people. And like, it's also a thing while, you know, maybe you're doing homework on the side or some schoolwork, like, and this happens with a lot of the younger adults and teenagers that watch me, like, okay, well, I'm going to put Brian on in the background as just background noise to keep company. And while I do my thing, or instead of listening to music, it'll be that. So oh, why don't you go pick up a football and play is the default answer. But it's especially when I was younger, I would have loved it because it would help me feel a little less lonely while my mother is at work, or, you know, whatever life situation is happening. Having that other person to share the experience with, if you don't happen to have anybody locally, is very important. And that's where those social cues kind of come in too.
Well, and a lot of times too, and if you're not familiar with watching people play video games or what Bricks O'Brien does, and what a lot of our youth are doing today is they're watching Brian. There's actually a camera on Brian with a headphone. He's got his headphones so he can talk. And there's also, so your screen is split essentially, and you're watching what Brian is seeing. So you're watching the game as he plays it, but you're also watching Brian, and he's talking you through it, whether it's strategy or funny things. It may have nothing to do with the game. And so it's kind of like if you and your buddies are playing cards or whatever, and you're just busting each other's chops, or you're just enjoying, and you're watching, someone else is watching, your wife is watching, or a friend is watching. They're not in the game yet, but they're still having fun because they're watching you play, but they're also hearing the banter. And so it's not just watching someone play with it on mute.
Right, exactly. And it's the equivalent of the commentators commentating baseball or football too. You're getting the insight, you're getting the play-by-play, the recap, the whatever. So that's why it's such a good comparison to keep in mind, because of that. So maybe that helps a little bit for that older generation to resonate with. But I feel like it's becoming more and more common as creators like myself get older too. You know, this is still a very new industry, not even 25 years old at this point. So compared to any other broadcasting medium, very, very young. So there will be the 50, 60-year-olds that are playing video games and then watching people like me do these sort of things too. It just hasn't had the time to happen yet.
Yeah. And you're on almost every platform. You're on platforms I've never heard of. But one of the platforms that you're on quite frequently is Twitch. That's where a lot of gamers reside. That's where they live. And for those people that don't know about Twitch as well, it's an Amazon company. So, you know, it's gotta be pretty good. If it's an Amazon company, it's legit at least. But tell us about some of the platforms that you're on.
Yeah, so YouTube has a lot of my videos. I've recorded over 1,500 videos that are about 20 to 30 minutes each over the course of the years that I've been doing this, and then more get made every single week. And that's for the gameplay videos that you most know, and then the short form vertical content that pops up. Twitch is for live streaming, which is really for engaging with my audience in real time. So when I have hosted my big birthday event where I reveal, hey, here's a Kickstarter for my children's book, that is where I ring the bell, rally the troops, hey, everybody show up here, and I get that feedback in real time as opposed to uploading a video. Much more satisfying and fun to do rather than a video. And obviously I'm on all the social media platforms, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everything. And every platform reaches a different kind of audience. So I know on Facebook, I'm going to reach the parents who I can talk to about whatever is going on. I also have a Patreon that you can support me directly for behind the scenes content and goodies every other month. Twitter is a lot for networking. I'm on LinkedIn because I know there's a lot of professionals that are going to be looking out for something like with what I'm doing, and I want to be able to connect with them. And finding that balance is so tough as well, but it's a part of the job. I have my own Roku channel, so you can watch without having questionable other videos pop up while you're browsing and watching. There's a safe streaming platform called Cadoodle TV that I'm on that you can access on Amazon Fire. So I am everywhere all the time doing all the things, and I take a lot of pride in that, but I am very tired a lot of the time, which is why I have a lot of coffee.
So were you gifted with 25 hours in a day? Do you have more minutes or more hours?
I don't. like when I wake up, it's the passion to do what I want to do, even on the days where I don't feel 100%. If I don't get a good night's sleep, or I'm just not feeling it, the responses that I've gotten from people of all ages, parents of all walks of life, and the feedback I get in real time is what keeps me motivated to keep doing it, and understanding within myself the potential that I have. I may have this voice in my head that's like, hey, lie in bed all day, don't bother getting up, whatever. But I need to do everything in my power to counteract that voice, get up out of bed, and do the thing that I need to do. So that's what keeps me going, whether or not I have 25 hours in the day or not.
Well, we joke about it, but you are doing so much content. You're putting so much out there. You're doing so many things. Is it just you that cuts and edits the video? Do you have a team? Do you have some virtual assistants? How do you balance all the stuff that you're doing? Because it's not just automatic. And for those of us that are technologically, not very good, we're envious of some of the stuff that you would put out.
Yeah, all of it is me for the most part. A thing that I have learned, especially in 2022, is I know I can't do everything, and I'm learning my boundaries. And part of being a successful businessman, as far as I've been told and have been learning, is you need to know your strengths and know your weaknesses. More importantly, finding those teams or those people that can help you do the thing that you want to do best by filling that weak spot. So what's that weak spot? Okay, for me, it might be running my Minecraft server, a safe place for people to play and for me to connect with the community, right? So who can I get to help me make new content for that and make sure all the plugins work and all the connections work? Okay, now I have this person who's also a buddy of mine. Okay, now what about the video content? And the video content I handle all myself. I want to be able to pay somebody a proper salary or a consistent line of work day after day. And right now, the workload is just enough where I can still do it. But when it comes to that point, I have no problem having that work go to somebody else. My biggest need is in social media, scheduling of posts, light video editing, just a few of those things. But for the most part, it's entirely me doing these things with contractors on hand, given the certain type of situation.
Well, you just recently you were named a brand ambassador for wait for it, Hot Pockets.
Yeah,
we love Hot Pockets. Who does not like Hot Pockets? How did that come about? Are you the king of Hot Pockets now?
I am. Whatever Hot Pocket themed name you want to call me, the Hot Pocket King, the Hot Pocket Master. I'll take any title. But it came about because for those who don't know, Nestle is behind Hot Pockets, DiGiorno, a bunch of these different brands. So they have connected with social media to content creators of all walks of life, all different sizes, audiences. And so on Twitter, they put out this call for the 120 contest where you can submit up to a 2-minute video showcasing yourself, your community, your content, what makes you different. And if you qualify into the finals, then it's a matter of voting, getting your people to vote for you over the course of a week, and whoever gets the most votes wins. And so it was a microcosm for me, because when I saw this competition happen, I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to win this thing, because there's so many bigger fish in the pond. And for as awesome and as cool as I am, numbers are numbers sometimes. And you get somebody who's got 100,000 people tuning in on Twitch, well, then, I'm going to get gobbled up. But when I ended up qualifying for the finals and the people in my round, I relied on all of my different social platforms and rallied all the troops by reminding the parents on Facebook every day, using all the connections that I have, the friends that I have through Twitch and the Lego community to, hey, voting for me takes literally 3 seconds. Please go do this. You don't even have to sign up for the emails. Just put your name in there. So that way it's a vote for Bricks O'Brien. And I called upon all these different areas and I ended up getting it. And so now I'm officially a Hot Pockets brand ambassador. There was no rigging of the polls, no stuff in the ballot, no bots, no anything like that. It was just literally calling upon the community to vote for me. And I'm very grateful that it worked.
So when you walk into your local grocery store, your local Kroger, do you just flash a card and you get all the Hot Pockets you want, or does Amazon just deliver, boxes and boxes of refrigerated Hot Pockets to your house?
So as part of the prize package, I get a whole suite of content creation tools, camera, laptop, whatever. They send me a stack of coupons that I can bring to a Kroger, a Stop and Shop, or whatever, and then redeem those for boxes of Hot Pockets. And I wish I had it behind me here. It hasn't arrived yet, but I will receive a Hot Pockets micro freezer that is a like half size micro freezer that you can store your Hot Pockets in. It's got the Hot Pockets branding on it and everything. So it's really cool.
You've got these little coupons for Hot Pockets. What is your favorite Hot Pocket?
I go with the pepperoni. Just keep it plain until I get those coupons, and then I can start exploring my taste palette. But I stick with the classic.
Well, they got breakfast Hot Pockets too.
They
so
do.
You can fool yourself into eating healthy.
Yes, exactly. So they give me a stack of 52 coupons. So a 1 year supply is Hot Pockets once a week. So that's not, not too bad. But who's to say I can't give some away either? We'll see.
Awesome. Everyone's now. What would be on your bucket list of food to be sponsored by or to be a brand ambassador? Like, what's your favorite food?
I mean, I'm a pizza guy, Pizza Friday, but I admittedly am a fan of local pizza shops more so than any of the national chains. So that makes it a bit more difficult for like a sponsorship, me having an international audience. But other than that, like Hot Pockets just kind of came up because of how I discovered it, but also I bought them occasionally beforehand anyway. So it was kind of an okay sponsorship for me to take on. There weren't many other brands that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm like, here we go for food. Obviously gaming companies or, a seltzer water brand sponsorship. That would be cool to replace, soda or energy drinks or anything like that. Seltzer water, I'd be very interested in. So,
well, the stereotypical vision that I and some of our listeners might have of a gamer is sitting in their parents' basement with a white t-shirt and some boxer shorts on, with eating some greasy food, and it's getting all over their shirt, all over their hands. I know that's not you, but do you eat while you're playing?
I do not, because I have the habit, and probably a lot of people out there do as well, of eating at the desk. So most of what I do is not even like actually playing the game. It is doing the social media or the community management or the editing or the whatever. So I'll be eating in the middle of that stuff, and game time is game time. Put the controller down and actually away, charging, and then I'll be eating. So no, I don't mix the two. I don't want Cheeto fingers on my game controllers with the Cheeto dust. I'm all set.
It's also not good to have Cheeto fingers when you're making Legos, and you are like a Lego master. I know there's a TV show called Lego Masters, but you love Legos. That's kind of in some ways how you started out in all this, how you got the Bricks O'Brien name. What kind of Legos do you like the best? What's kind of your go-to when you're creating your Lego masterpieces?
Yeah, so I started with like reviewing a lot of the products and doing news segments and podcasts on that, and I still carry a lot of that with me today. I focus more so on the adult-centric models that are geared more toward like an 18 plus skill level audience. So those ones tend to be the Ultimate Collector Series Star Wars set that'll come out based on the newest whatever show is out there. They'll go into like art-based sets. And then one of the things that I love is actually from a company called Bricker Builds, and they make life-size Lego models of all different things, including lightsabers, Pokemon that are like massively sized up. And they even made a giant Mario model that is like well over 20 inches tall that you can purchase on their website. And it makes a great display piece in my background, A. And then B, it's actually the same way they create the models for Legoland or Lego stores across the country. So you're getting that sort of unique building experience that actual Lego professionals would, while making something cool for your office. I also love the minifigures. So all the different IP, Spider-Man and Batman, all things like that too. I have a soft spot for.
When are we going to have a Bricks O'Brien minifigure?
Well, it actually already exists. There's a custom one that I sell on my website. There's a standard Bricks O'Brien version and then a holiday version that people have responded to really well. And I've had that floating around for quite some time, different versions of it. But it's out there. In terms of an official set, I think we could see that one day for the intellectual property of my book, less so Bricks O'Brien, but with the whole world and everything too.
And you can check out his store and everything Bricks O'Brien at bricksobrien.com, www.bricksobrien.com. Check that out for sure. You've mentioned your book, the awesome story about your book. I've ordered it. It should be here in the next couple of days, hopefully. Looking forward to getting that book. But let's talk before we get into the actual book. Well, let's talk about why you wanted to write a book, and then we'll get into your Kickstarter story. So why did you want to write a book? Because you're a gamer. You're not supposed to be an author.
Right. And that's part of the whole industry that I'm in is, you are supposed to be X just playing the game or live streaming or whatever. And as some people may know, the name Mr. Beast, a person who is making these videos, but then opening up their own restaurant and then these chocolate bars and all these different other things that help supplement his brand. And for me, as somebody who's done it for so long and understanding the way this industry works, I know I needed something that I really enjoyed, something that could last beyond my relevancy as Bricks O'Brien as I might get older and be like 65. Who's going to want to watch me play games at 65? Maybe some people, but what can I make that I'm very passionate about that can exist beyond my relevancy and something really cool and just fun. And that was a children's book, because if there's anything that I've learned getting to young people at a young age and reaffirming either life pro tips, healthy habits, my own brand, the characters that I create, that is a way to reach a new audience. And how can I combine the undeniable appeal of gaming and accompany that with something a bit more educational, like a physical book that you can hold in your hands? And it just made a lot of sense for me to do. Started as a New Year's resolution in January 2020. Obviously, many things happened from that point to now, but that vision maintained all through it.
Well, as you're talking, I think if you haven't done it already, you may want to buy the domain name Bricks Old Brian, so that when you do get old, when you get into your 60s, maybe you can rebrand yourself, Bricks Old Brian.
Right. A couple more, streaks of gray in the mascot's hair and the beard. And then the O, instead of it being blue, it's just silver. It's a nice,
that's
silver
right.
color.
Embrace that new image, embrace that new brand. But you may be one of the best, most successful Kickstarters I've ever heard of. Your Kickstarter campaign, absolutely amazing. We're all familiar with Kickstarter, or at least the basics of it, but your story about raising the money on Kickstarter, especially for being a children's book, a gamer book, is incredible. Walk us through your tremendous success on Kickstarter.
Well, thank you. That's very,
I get passionate, really, not because I'm passionate about Kickstarter. I'm really just jealous. And I'm just amazed when I heard the story, and I'm still amazed at it because I've seen Kickstarter things. I've seen Kickstarter projects raise a lot of money, but it's almost for like a big national type thing, or a real something that's exposed on the nightly news, or something that's over time. Yours wasn't necessarily this big national exposure. It wasn't over time.
So I'll say that I did every single thing you shouldn't do with launching a Kickstarter campaign. You don't launch it in January. You don't launch it on a weekend, and you don't launch it without telling anyone. And I did all of those three things, and I got it funded in 2 hours. So not to toot my own horn here.
Key to success. Don't do what
but,
you're supposed to know.
Yeah. So it kind of came up because I've been working on this book for so long behind the scenes, and I always wanted it to be a surprise thing for my audience. Because like you said, oh, Brian, people like you shouldn't be writing books. Well, I did. Boom, here it is. And I love surprising people. I love working on things in the background and just kind of dropping it on people and walking away, because it's surprise and delay. And it's worked really well for me. So I developed the book in secret for so long, only telling, a dozen people, close friends, whoever. And then I reached a point where I wanted to go beyond what my initial vision was. And I was having a bit of development trouble with the publisher, with the original illustrator, and it was not working out. And so between me switching to my illustrator who illustrated the book, Kevin Hinkle, a full-time freelance illustrator, one of my closest friends and colleagues in all this, the decision to go through Kickstarter made so much more sense, because I wanted to include people in the book and I wanted to include people in the journey. And that decision came so naturally. And so every year I hold a birthday live stream I call the Bob Bonanza, because I'm Bricks O'Brien, B.O.B. Bob Bonanza. So I'm like, all right, here's this moment where I know I'm going to have a lot of attention, because I reminded people all month long, you're not going to want to miss it. You're going to want to be here, going to want to be here. And the project is so unique. And so it just makes so much sense for someone like me to release a book like that. And I had rewards that were, they just made sense. It made sense for me to include these t-shirts or these gaming sessions, or you can get a spot in the book. You can get a bunch you can donate to your friends or family, or whoever. And all of that combined, I took all this energy and I honed it right in with no college degree, with no marketing experience formally, none of that. And thankfully blew it out of the water, where we raised the entire crowdfunding goal of $14,000 in 2 hours without any notice to the general public beforehand. And over the 28-day campaign, raised a total of $32,369.
14,000. You heard that right. 14,000 in 2 hours, not doing really anything you're supposed to do when you put together a Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
14,000.
All the wrong things.
14,000 in 2 hours for a gamer book, from somebody who hasn't written a book before. But I think what's key, or maybe not what's totally key, but something that's important to remember is you had a following. You have people that you engage with. Like, you're not just somebody that puts stuff out there only to be consumed and you don't engage. Yep. You're very good at engaging with people. And so you have true fans, and sometimes just having a few true fans. I mean, obviously you have more than a few, but having, essentially, relatively speaking, a few true fans allows you to raise 14,000 in 2 hours.
It does. And it's two things. It's that, but also the track record of what I've done over the course of my career, that my people know that I put out tons of videos and live streams and podcasts. And even on the days where I'm not feeling great, I'm still putting my best foot forward and being honest with people when things go right or things go wrong. So when people heard about this project, there was this underlying sense of, okay, Brian's going to deliver, because he always does, because that's just part of facilitating these experiences and this product, if you want to call it a product. I have a good track record and people can bank on that. And I delivered on it because I don't settle for subpar. I could have put out a children's book with some whoever artists that I hired from overseas and just kind of click it and ship it. Absolutely not. Instead, you're getting a well thought out, high quality product that has beautiful illustrations, a message that matters, and a story that involves my mascot of Bricks O'Brien, along with these pet pal characters that I came up with. And in some cases, people helped me develop. Like, there's a penguin character that was sourced from the community as a drawing competition. And I love penguins. So I'm like, well, Brian needs a penguin companion character. Here's Cuddles the penguin, a purple penguin. Why not? So involving all these different aspects just helped fuel this fire. And everybody was so fired up about this project and wanted to see it succeed. And I couldn't be more grateful for every single bit of it. And because people believe in it so much, then, okay, now I want to take it to the next level, whatever that might be. Is it an animated show? Is it a half dozen more children's books or a graphic novel? Or I don't know, but I want to take this intellectual property and build it out in a meaningful way for my audience and beyond.
Well, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Live, I would suggest, if you have a son or daughter that likes games, or you think that they might be in gaming, go ahead and get this for them. And if you don't have a child or don't have a grandchild, maybe still look at purchasing this for your local library or the local school library. Put some options. This is a great option to be in a library as well, because it's very family friendly, and it's healthy habits. And who doesn't want children to have healthy habits? And especially our mentality of gamers, the stereotype we have of the gaming industry is not healthy habits. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of help people understand that, you know what, even if you're front of a TV, here are some healthy habits that you can have. This is how you can maybe balance your time a little bit better, or get better sleep, or drink better, eat better, those kinds of things. So definitely even get it for your local library.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I ended up making the book, and it's had such positive reception. The art style of the book is original, so it's not Lego minifigures, it's not Roblox, it's not Minecraft. It's this own art style that I've developed that manages to maintain its video game vibe, but is now in a physical medium like a book. So when kids are reading this, or parents are reading it to them, and they're seeing these illustrations in the world that I've been creating, they're seeing, okay, this could be a video game. This is a video game world that I am now in, that applies to not just the games, but my actual life. And so melding those two is what a lot of these companies are trying to do with, like, the metaverse or NFTs or a lot of this stuff. But to reach the audience, like right now, I think something like this is resonating more closely, and I've had a lot of success with it so far. Again, like I'm very grateful for it, and the reception is it's everything.
When you can get that book at bricksobrien.com, bricksobrien.com. We'll also put a direct link in the show notes as well. I mentioned earlier that I was not allowed to play Atari when I was growing up, but once in a while I would cheat when I was at a friend's house. And then when I became an adult, I got my own Atari. But there was a game I never could beat. This game, and it may be the simplest game in the world, and I never could beat it. And it was Pong. I'm almost embarrassed to say I can't beat the computer in the game of Pong. I was really good at Centipede and Space Invaders, not Pong. Is there a game that you've just really struggled with? You just can't you can't beat that game, or a certain level you've just never gotten to this level in a game? Is there something that just that unicorn out there, or that white whale, or that big huge whale that you just can't catch?
A lot of it now is connecting online against other people, less so the challenges of the games themselves. So the games I can play and beat for the most part. When I'm challenged with other people competitively on a Fortnite or Minecraft, it gets very tough. Admittedly, I don't know if maybe you might be able to believe this or not, but the 2D Mario games, Super Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros 2, 3, I struggle with those. The depth perception, or the physics of the game. I work well in 3D space, like with Super Mario 64 or Mario Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch. But the 2D Mario games, man, I'm just a hair too young, and I struggle with those more than I'd like to admit. So I frequently will pause the game, rewind it, and then replay it. So I'm sure there's a lot of people listening now that could school me in that pretty easily.
Well, my son would watch you play Mario, and he actually, after watching you play all your Mario games, he went back on Netflix and watched some of the old, like, 1980s or early 1990s Mario cartoons, which I was amazed that he liked, because the graphics are terrible. It's old school cartoons, but he fell in love with Mario, the old school Mario, just by watching you play Mario games now.
Right. And I think a lot of these companies are realizing that people like me are reaching the audience in a different way than the corporate machine will allow them to. I can be myself, I can be personal, and then that can translate for them to more streams or to more games purchased. And although there's a lot of, like, questionability of, like, the legality, like, oh, am I transforming this content? There's a lot of things going on in that realm, but ultimately it's feeding the fire of passion for these characters in these worlds, where some people will buy a Bricks O'Brien piece of merchandise and then wear it to Super Nintendo World, where, thank you for buying a $25 shirt, but then Nintendo makes out good because they spent, $100 on a ticket. So it's kind of a weird symbiotic relationship that's developed over the course of years. And I can only make my own things and hope people support them, which is why I also made the children's book. That's all my thing, right? It's not Nintendo, not Microsoft. It's all me.
Well, he's not a famous Hall of Fame basketball coach. He's not a Fortune 500 CEO, but Bricks O'Brien is doing some great things to help raise up our children. I know that kind of sounds kumbaya. That sounds deep, but he's family friendly. He's doing so many things to provide family friendly things for these kids that we have that are gamers. And, that's what it's all about, raising up today's youth so that they can be better people and one day in our society. And so what he's doing is great stuff. So if you have a kid, if you have a grandkid, if you know of a grandkid that likes the game, turn them on to Bricks O'Brien. BricksO'Brien.com is where you can find out all of his links, all of his stuff. He's on every platform. So Brian, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for what you're doing for kids while you're having fun. You're getting paid, you're having fun, and you're making an impact.
That's exactly it. And I can only hope that I have the honor to do this for the rest of my life in whatever form it might take, and see where my travels take me. I appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for watching this live or listening to it on the Success is a Choice Podcast Network. We appreciate it. And until next time, remember, success is a choice. What choice will you make today?